tools and resources and strategies and the problems that you're really faced with in your institution. So I'll speak very, very briefly. I'm a little bit daunted and nervous sometimes when I see the reference to a lot of the work that's been done in the States, because while there has been a lot of very important and fabulous work done in the States, I think we're really at the very, very beginning of dealing with the kinds of problems and issues that we have. So I mean, I appreciate the reference to you know, the work done by my friends like Julie Newman at Yale and Leith Sharp, who started the Harvard Green Campus Initiative. And I think we all met a few months ago, and we'd be the first to admit that we're just at the very, very beginning of making the kinds of changes that we need. And the question that I asked a bit earlier is really trying to build on the beautiful comments from Professor Ye in the morning about the Green University history in Taiwan. And the question, it really goes back to the point about the gap that I raised yesterday, and I'll talk a little bit more today, is are the kinds of strategies and efforts and initiatives that we're proposing really the kinds of things that are necessary to bridge the scale and the character of the gap? So when Professor Ye talked about what most university students in Taiwan come out of when they leave the university, is that what they really need to help turn the nation of Taiwan into a sustainable society and economy in the future?
Sitting here amongst my four colleagues, I feel it must be as if you were looking at the five wise men. And I feel like Professor Glasser that it would be wonderful to have your involvement in this discussion as much as possible. And I think particularly since we are five males up here, it would be really wonderful to have some of you women in the audience really contributing to a lot of these ideas, because I think there are so many ideas that you all have. But I suppose just to get to the point about whether there is the opportunity for cooperation of universities across the Asian or Asia-Pacific area, I think this conference already demonstrates that there is that potential. As Professor Ye has mentioned, I've been to Taiwan for the 4 conferences, and each conference there seems to be more people, more enthusiasm, more action, more initiatives that are coming. So I think your conferences demonstrate that there is that need and interest and willingness to have that cooperation. Not just in Taiwan, but because you have connections through to Korea, Japan, China, United States, Australia. There is obviously many people who are thinking the same ideas that you have and also wanting to learn and engage in the same ways. So I think we can take it as read that there is a lot of interest and a lot of enthusiasm for such a cooperative approach. The problem, of course, is how do we do that? I have exactly the same problem in Australia, and I'm involved, and I mentioned yesterday in my talk, in a community of practice to try and link to the universities in my city, in Melbourne. And just getting those people together and talking and discussing sometimes can be difficult enough. Then we try and communicate with the universities in other states in Australia and in New Zealand. And then sometimes I'm fortunate enough to go to conferences and connect to people in Taiwan, in the United States, in Britain. So each level becomes more and more complicated, and more time and more energy and all those sorts of things. So I guess we need to think carefully about what we want to achieve from any form of cooperation. Do we want to set up another organisation, another association that has a chairman or a president, a treasurer and a website and all the other sorts of things? do we want to put our energy into that sort of work? Or would we be better working with some of the organisations we already have and using those structures but putting our time into really changing things in our own universities, changing things in our own cities? And I guess I would prefer to be doing the work, changing my university, changing what our students will be doing. So I was thinking, how might we do that? And again, I was thinking of what we have in Australia is an organisation called ACTS. It's called Australasian Campuses Towards Sustainability. It's just a group like you people who are interested in campus operations, in curriculum, who meet at a conference, but most importantly, the organisation has a website and a regular newsletter, these sorts of things to share information. Now, as I understand it, in a sense, in Korea, exactly the same organisational structure is being set up. In Taiwan, you have a very similar arrangement being set up. I'm sure in China, we have a very similar arrangement again. So perhaps what we could think about doing is not trying to set up a big organisation that involves everyone, but trying to make connections between all of these national organisations which are already working. And perhaps even we could be saying very simply at the start, could we be able to link the websites of these organisations so that the organisations in Australia, for example, puts up information about a conference or puts information up about new resources for teaching or new ideas for recycling electronic waste. All those things go on our website, but they would also then be available to yourselves in Taiwan, to people in China or wherever. So perhaps as a starting point, just to be able to make those connections across the existing organisations might be the first step. And after a little while, perhaps if everyone really says, yeah, we need something specifically for the Asian area, fine, then we develop something along those lines. So perhaps that's a starting point and maybe something to talk about. Thank you.
Okay, thank Professor Gracer and Professor Thomas. They really suggest something that very important. Okay, I'll keep my opinion to the last. Okay, so so next Professor Sakai from Japan.
Okay, from my understanding of the last year of the attending of this conference and this year, and Green University initiative and have so wide spectrum and diversity in each countries and also some in each university. Mainly some the environmental education with some education with sustainability development, ESD. That is some one of the big issues of the some Green University initiative, and also the some low carbon campus building of the initiative is also the some very important issue for each university and each country. And also the incorporated in the some research on these two issues of the environmental education and also some low campus in the building and some anyway the environmental research initiative is also some critical points, and therefore perhaps each country and each association have some a little bit different of the some which is the main target or perhaps some difference in we have. For example, in Japan, we have one association, Japan Association for University Environment and Safety, and traditional environmental issue we have been discussing in this association. And, but only recently, low carbon issue has been increased, growing up and low carbon issues. Yeah, therefore, anyway, the some spectrum for the Green University initiative of the Professor Young mentioned in this in the morning is the same vector and we have. And therefore, the